Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Star Trek Adventure rules by Modiphius. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. We welcome infinite diversity in infinite combinations. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living or from the mirror universe, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways Podcast. I am your storyteller this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him, and we are back with our adventures through the universe of Star Trek, or STA, made by Modiphius. So we're having fun, and we're trying to see if the crew will potentially live through a rogue AI experience, as we're also used to rogue AI experiences in our current day. But no matter. We thank you for joining us. We thank you for listening. And we want to say thank you especially to our Patreon supporters for backing us, like the one in this game, which we'll get to shortly in introductions. So let's do that. To my right.
Hello there. My name is Mare, and I will continue to play our fearless, well, sometimes fearful captain, Lieutenant Woods.
I noticed that you gave yourself a rank upgrade there, Lieutenant. Congratulations.
Its aspirations are very important when you're in the command.
I couldn't agree more. To Mare's right.
Hi, I'm Skip, and I'm playing the Ensign Dr. Kavan, son of Lurak Klingon, who's currently lost in space, out in space.
I love that. I love that for you, especially. I love you being a Klingon in a spacesuit. I think it's a great image. To the doctor's right.
This is Morgan, and I play Ensign Suvik, and I'm failing at keeping my away team protected and secure as the security officer.
Yeah, seriously, do your job. Secure something, why don't you?
I know, right?
And last but most certainly not least.
Hi, I'm Allie. I play Ensign Latara, and I'm going to work very hard and very fast as a proper apology to my commanding officer.
That's probably a good idea. Stop trying to put yourself in charge. Okay, so when last we left, there seemed to be a little information gathered from Kavan, given to Lieutenant Woods about the radioactive material. Maybe just a little bit more radioactive than he had first realized. So that does sort of put the clock ticking. It doesn't seem like any of the doors here have reopened, and so looks like the computer still needs done what it needs done. So we'll rejoin the nerve center after that information comes in, Lieutenant Woods, and you get to process the fact that maybe you don't have as long as you thought you had.
Lieutenant Woods is thinking through options. She is trying to sort out the best course to do. Right now, still trying to maintain looking at the materials that are coming through. Perhaps there's something in the data that helps, but she's also eyeing potential escape plans, potential ways, like how tough would that door be? Is there anything that's connected to the door that could potentially open it? How does someone override an AI? Do you turn it off, turn it back on again? She's going through all of these different options in her mind while trying to play it cool. And she's giving herself a little bit of time to think on that.
Okay. So as rolled, it would be like reason engineering for you to reason out how you would do something like that. I could see that. I could also see if you were in the act of doing it, I could see perhaps a reason engineering. I could see a couple of different ways you could do it. It all depends on what you're trying to get to.
I think she's in problem-solving mode. She's in like puzzling mode. Each of the ideas in their own way could work, but they would have their various difficulties. She's trying to put them in order of things to try at this moment. I don't think she's actively doing that. She's just thinking things through, but not doing anything terribly suspicious on the computer end right now. She is just kind of gathering the information too, but while her eyes are darting and looking to see, is there a console next to the doors? which of these files looks like it could be related to how this thing is structured, particularly thinking about where the biological mass is on the outside of it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's likely a reason science, if you're going after that sort of stuff.
Could I do potentially reason engineering, since I'm thinking about the shape of the ship?
If your focus is figuring out how to break out of this room, it's definitely reason engineering.
We're going to do kind of breaking out of the room. We're going to go for like the schematics and that. And that way, if the computer asks, like the kid in the back of the classroom, she can be like, anything to help the ensign on the outside of the ship.
Seems reasonable.
That's a 10 and an 8 underneath. You said reason and engineering. So yes, that's 2 successes.
Okay, so 2 successes is going to glean you a couple of things. It will glean you another point in your momentum pool, which, interestingly enough, at the beginning of this episode, refreshes to 4. So you could actually spend that momentum for more answers in this sense. So basically you're making a query. And so with 2 successes, you get to ask 2 specific questions.
Okay, and then spending a momentum would get me a 3rd?
You could continue to spend momentum. Technically, you could spend 4 of them if you needed to, and you could ask 6 questions. You get 2 right now.
Let's start with 2, because I have to think of them.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to ask for proposals from...
It's really not a group mind thing.
Oh, okay. All right, great. That's just me. The way that this station is put together, does it seem like the center part is one long contiguous thing, or did it look like it was little capsules that were connected to one another like a centipede?
So that's a great question. It is actually one single superstructure. So it did not look like it was cobbled together from multiple pieces, which leads you to believe that it was created for this specific purpose. Oh, actually, I'll give you this too. Antennae or sensor arms that were placed in the direction of Fair 3, those look like they were added later.
Interesting. Just as a clarifying question on that, not as my next question. What gives it away that they're created later? Like, are they of a different type of setup? Not the Sona design, but
They're not designed to act within the design parameters of the vessel. Basically, they look like they're an add-on.
But like by the Sona or by another group of people?
That you're not sure who they were created by.
Okay. All right, that's one. How far along in the research was this data? If you had to put a percent on it, even. How close were they to finding what they were looking for?
Based on what you're seeing here on the data and the data that the 3 of you have worked with, we were actually fairly close to determining the location. But it seems like part of the problem has continuously been that the planet, as a quote gas giant, continues to expand and sometimes contract, at least in the logged data that the station has. And so it corrupts the process, the calculation process, every time it does that. And so it seems to work on sort of a alternating current where it goes in and out and in and out and in and out. And the difficulty there is that the research has to be done in one specific time frame. You've all spent about an hour doing it so far, and you believe you're probably maybe 30% done. If Farrer 3 is going to change shape again in the next couple of hours, it means you'd have to start all over. And that's problematic based on the radiation readings that Kavan has given you.
Good to know. As Lieutenant Woods gleans this data from the computer, she leans over towards Suvik, knowing that this is the most logically minded person. Looking at these calculations here, it seems that we're about 30% through analyzing this gas giant. However, look at these anomalies of the size change, density change. It seems that we only have about a 3-hour window to get this done.
That seems logical.
Do you think that there's anything we could do that might, and she would even look to Ensign Latara, that might speed up this process? Cycling through?
If I might suggest that we try to tie in this technology with our current buoys, maybe it gives us a better encompassing view. That maybe with the combined technology, we can get better scans.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If only. And she makes a glance up towards the sky, which is where she's assuming the computer voice is coming from. If only some of us were able to also get back to our vessel so we could communicate with the buoys that we just laid out.
There's no answer from the vessel.
Computer, do you think that could be a possibility?
We're very close, don't you think? A little more work is necessary.
We're over a third of the way through it. Think about how much faster this would go if we were able to use our technology.
Again, there's no reply.
Right. And she turns back to the thing, right, because she's not thinking. She's just an AI and just mutter, mutter, mutter as she gets back to working on that.
Heavy snark comes out of Lieutenant Woods.
Heavy snark.
Kavan, are you heading back inside after you take your sample?
Yes. As soon as I get that, I will make my way back as quickly as I can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a spacewalk, so it takes you a little time to get back in, even with magnetic boots.
As soon as I get in and get everything secure, I'll start the replicator making the appropriate medicines that we need.
Okay, so why don't you give me a reason in medicine?
Rolled a 7 and a 12. So that's both under 14, so 2.
So you could spend the additional momentum that you generate into making this run faster if you'd like.
I will do that.
Okay, so you'll have something for 2 crew members in about an hour or so. And I should ask the Nerve Center crew, are you going to continue to work on the project itself, or are you sort of paused while the great deliberation goes on?
We should continue to work.
Okay, Kavan, if you want to let him know, that'll help.
Kavan to Lieutenant Woods.
Go ahead, Kavan.
Lieutenant, I will have 2 inoculations ready in about an hour.
Per person or?
Just 2.
Huh. Are we able to go halvesies on them or?
I would not recommend that.
Okay. We'll see you back here, I suppose. Is there anything else that we need from the ship?
I was going to begin to try to remove the radioactive material from the space station itself.
What if we swapped out with each other here, you know? We could swap out the crew. She glares up at the speaker where the voice of the computer is coming from. Is that a possibility in order for us to extract the stuff from the side of the ship?
Certainly. The chipper voice of this unendingly nice AI comes back. You get whooshed, like in a complete, immediate green energy field, Lieutenant Woods, and you are standing back on the runabout. Kavan, for you, mid-work, you are taken away and placed back in the nerve center.
I find that very annoying.
Can someone tell the computer that I didn't mean right then through her communicator?
I believe the computer can hear.
Lieutenant, are you going to make the additional doses?
I can. I thought we were going to try to remove the stuff from the outside of the ship, but I thought that I was going to suggest before I was so rudely extracted from my chair and placed somewhere else that perhaps if I navigate the ship to the outside, then perhaps we could do this again. And then Ensign Suvik, you would be able to fire away at the biological mass.
It is quite simple.
Wonderful. Lieutenant Woods showing her annoyance.
Doctor,
Yes.
the machinery inside this nerve center requires 3 people to work. This is why I cannot complete it on my own. This is why no more than 1 person may be on the runabout at a time. The project must continue.
Did you hear that, Lieutenant?
I did. Perhaps administer the... Wait, did you make them? I thought you had already made 2 of them, right?
No, it would have taken me an hour to do so. I was in the process before I was, what is your human term? Whooshed back over here. My apologies.
Right. Gotcha. Is there a way I can get it started? Like, get it, like, press a button, like you already know what to do, and get it started while I go and fly the ship out there and we can fire these things away, or?
Yes, I have already inputted the parameters in the computer. All you would need to do is finish the calculations, and I can talk you through that.
All right, then. Calculating away, I suppose.
So the way this works in STA is that Skip's going to make a roll, and he's basically making an instructional roll, an assist roll. So he's going to roll a single die. And then for you, Merrick, Lieutenant Woods is going to have to make the...
Reason and medical.
Yeah, reason and medicine.
I rolled a 4. That helps.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, good. That will help. Okay, so one of the dies that I rolled was a 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's good, because that gives me 2 successes.
That's correct. It's a critical success.
Mm-hmm. So on the other die, I rolled a 20.
Okay, that's bad. So that's a complication.
But do they level out?
Yeah, they do. They would level out, which means that you effectively wouldn't have any successes. You technically have a critical success and a complication. So that isn't necessarily a bad thing per se. It's just that the complication will stand, which means it gives me a window to mess with it, like I did with Kavan's earlier sensor detecting for how bad the radiation was. He rolled the complication. It was revealed later that it wasn't just a day, it was like a few hours.
All right. Let's do that then.
Okay. So you continue making the doses. You follow Kavan's instructions as far as he gives them, and you begin making these first 2 doses. While that's going on, I would like Ensign Suvik and Ensign Latara, and of course, Kavan, to begin their second round of this research project.
Do we need to roll on this since I wasn't part of this the first time? What am I rolling?
You're rolling reason and science.
Okay.
Probably a pretty good roll for you.
Mm-hmm. I rolled a 13 and a 14, so that's 1 success for me.
Okay. Suvik?
0 successes.
Okay.
No, so I didn't get a chance to ask the computer if it could access our buoys or not. So I wanted to check with the computer if it could access our buoys, and if so, I wanted to use my computer focuses to be able to do that.
Yeah, it has no method of communicating externally with your technology.
Okay.
That's what it tells you.
Okay. Well, I got 3 successes. I got a 1.
That is helpful. You have amassed 10 successes. So after the second or so hour, so it's been about 2.5 hours, Doctor, you're fairly certain that in the next hour and a half, you're going to begin accruing dangerously high levels of this radiation. You need to be out of here and soon. The project begins to spit out information. This is something at a 4th terminal it has not done yet. And so the readout on this screen starts to build. And it's actually kind of exciting because you haven't seen that screen turned on before. You don't know what it does. But you start seeing pictures of different sort of aspects of the planet, and it starts plugging information in. And then you see something a little strange. And that thing that you see as strange is that it begins to test the atmospheric depth. And I'd like Ensign Suvik to make a insight and security roll.
Give it the old college try. The old Starfleet try. And I got 1 success. I would like to spend my determination to use my value, Keen Mind, Keen Eye, to re-roll or to roll another dice to see if I can.
Well, if you're spending the determination, one of the 20s is automatically a 1.
Okay, so I get 3 successes.
Okay. So you come upon a very insightful and frankly concerning bit of data. You're watching as all of these values get plugged in for the different levels of where the best thing you can say is some sort of rocky surface that exists beneath all this gas. And one facet of the planet, which you seem to be facing, actually has some of the higher levels of rock on it. And you realize that one of these lines exists on this map, right? So it's a 2-dimensional map that gives you basically a cutaway of the planet as far as the depth goes. And you realize that there is about 100 or so meter ceiling to that gas, meaning there's a gap that exists between the rock surface and the gas where it begins. But your critical sort of gives you a little bit more information. You realize that this station or this computer is collecting targeting data at the same time as collecting scientific data.
Computer,
Yes?
what is your primary objective?
My primary objective is to find a safe and secure home for the Sona who are a part of this station.
Do you have a secondary objective? If that fails.
Yeah, to continue to exist until the first objective can be completed. It has been, on a couple of occasions, 3 times, needed that the station needs to protect itself from external incursion.
May I inquire as to why you are gathering targeting data for the planet?
All data for the planet is being collected. Atmospheric, positional data, depth of the rock. All this data is critical to finding a safe place.
If you have no weapons, why are you collecting targeting?
They require a space to be made for them. The station can provide this. It's not a weapon. It's a tool.
What kind of tool?
It's an energy drill.
And what kind of space are you making?
We would seek to make a space within the rock, a cave, to deposit the bodies.
So, computer, are you simply looking for a big enough space to additionally drill out to have enough room?
It is our belief that inside the rock there exists a chemical. It puts a chemical compound up on the screen that, when dispersed from within the rock, will help evaporate much of the gas that exists on the exterior of the rock face. This will allow the Sona who exist currently in cryostasis to have space to build their own colony. It will come at the expense of what exists within the rock face, but this is an acceptable parameter.
What currently exists within the rock face?
You get that sort of lag time when the computer doesn't want to answer. It sort of goes quiet.
Computer.
There are controls in front of you which you could potentially glean information from, right? So you don't always have to get it from them. You're also making things.
Yeah, I'm making things, so I'm trying to do math and going, wait a second.
I would first of all like to scan where the cryogenic people are at the moment.
Ooh, that's an interesting thing. Why ever would you do that, Doctor? So yeah, that's probably control science.
A 4 and a 5.
pretty good. So you'll generate a point of momentum as well. So you use the internal sensors of the computers that are here, the computer banks that are here, to call up internal inventory records. And you see a couple of things that are concerning.
Mm-hmm.
The exterior of the ship, sort of like a racking system, has been used to carry pods. These pods are, in effect, cryostasis pods. Not something per se that you're familiar with their exact design, but you get the idea. They're a big tube with a body in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There must be 400 or so of these tubes that exist within the station.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell whether or not the cryostasis pods are still filled or they're empty.
So there's no way to get a true life sign reading from them?
Not with those successes, no. Now, you can double down and you can make it an extended test and try to continue to determine that. That's something that's up to the player.
I would actually like to do that. I want to see how many we're actually dealing with.
Okay. So this is a scan that'll take a couple of minutes rather than, something that's immediate. So go ahead and re-roll, and we'll add them in. We'll say it's an extended test. We'll say you need 5 successes to complete the test.
I would like to spend one of my momentum to get a 3rd die.
Seems reasonable.
Okay, so that's an 11, which passes, an 18, it fails, and a 20.
Okay, so the 20 is a complication. That could be problematic, but you tell me whether or not you want to buy it off or not.
Yeah, I would like to buy that off.
Okay, so you'll be down to a single point in your momentum pool at this point. You buy off the complication, and that gives you, 2 more successes? Or 1 more?
1 more.
Okay, so you have 3 total. So this will be it'll be a total of 5 minutes you're spending on this. And it's at this point, the computer will pipe up and ask, is there something I can help you with, Doctor?
I am just verifying life signs.
I assure you they're there.
I understand, but I have protocols to follow as well.
All right, give me another roll.
Okay. That is a 7 and a 7, so they both pass.
Fantastic. So you verify something after a couple of minutes, like you're hunting. And the 2 of you who are also with the doctor here in the nerve center see that he's feverishly working over the panel. And you can tell that he's having to fight, in effect, the interface where buttons are being moved or screens aren't turning on. It seems like you're getting some resistance from the computer itself, but you're managing to continue to work and hunt for that data. After a couple minutes, you get the first ping back from some of the internal sensors in the pods, and it doesn't look like they're powered on at all.
That's odd.
If they're not powered on, then they're likely not continuing to maintain cryostasis. So if there is a life form in that pod, they are long since dead.
Mm-hmm.
Ensign Suvik, you notice the first bit of telemetry data starts to come back from the quote-unquote targeting that data that's been brought in. And Lieutenant Woods, you feel the superstructure of the station begin to move. You can all feel the station start to move.
What's happening? Hello? The structure's moving.
Computer, what is happening?
We are moving into final attitude position.
To drill it, you have found the optimal location to be able to drill that hole and dissipate that gas.
Indeed. You start seeing all sorts of lights turn on. Your readouts, Suvik, show that the tube itself, it's beginning to move internally and change shape.
Computer, can you run a self-diagnostic on the life sign readings of your pods?
Of course. It comes back a moment later with a completely different version of the information you have. One that shows that the pod is powered up. Here are the life signs of the person in cryostasis, all this information. I would like you to give me a insight and medicine roll.
Absolutely, I would love to. That is one success.
One success is all you need, Skip. So you recognize it within a few seconds of it being up. The computer is called up data, which is out of date. Like the date is at the bottom of the two data images. And you can tell that the computer is either operating off of bad data or it's knowingly ignoring the data that it has.
I'll actually pull out my tricorder and I'm going to try to type this information really quick and send it to the other tricorders.
Ooh, I like that play. Okay, so you start some crazy super secret signaling message.
Mm-hmm.
Lieutenant, you get that in the runabout, and the rest of you get that on your tricorders basically vibrate.
I'm going to think to myself, that can't be right. That feels strange. Like mentally, I don't think we've got enough information to enter this finalizing stage. We haven't pinpointed a place that would be most optimal for what the current parameters are supposed to be set for.
I mean, nevertheless, the station is moving.
I asked the computer, what is the date today?
It gives you a date you don't recognize. So the computer doesn't spit out a star date because it's not a Federation. But if you were, say, the logical sort of person, you might be able to try to parse when that is.
Yeah, so I will try to decrypt the date that they brought up to a Starfleet date.
Oh, I love that for you. So that's probably a reason and science roll.
And that is a 1 success.
That's going to be tough with just 1 success. I think that you'd have the impression that the date is not accurate. Like, that can't be right. Lieutenant Woods, you get the first 2 inoculations, those with complications, prepared.
Computer, I have these inoculations for the folks. I would like to bring them to us.
Of course. Are you going to begin removing the biomaterial?
Well, I had to make this here, and then even though the ship itself is positioned, I would need to fire at that. But you're moving, so if you stopped moving, it would probably be easier for me to remove this from you.
Okay, I will give you a presence command roll to see if you can convince this computer to wait until it is properly prepared before it fires.
Presence command, you said?
Yep.
All right. That's a 2 and an 11 underneath a 14.
The computer comes back and says, I will halt.
Okay, great.
Please expedite this process.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is quite a bit of it, so you're just going to have to bear with me.
The inoculations evaporate from and go to they appear in the nerve center.
I will get up and inoculate the other ensigns, not myself.
Gonna trust that old Klingon strength.
Exactly.
All right, so for those of you getting inoculations, I would like you to make me a fitness roll. You are getting some spicy inoculations brought to you by Lieutenant Woods.
Are we rolling just straight fitness, or is it fitness and medicine?
I think it's gonna. I'll say it's a fitness medicine roll. We'll see how you handle it.
I get excited. That was a 1. It wasn't. Well, but still, I still get 2 successes.
That's good. Ensign Latara.
So my goal was 10, and I rolled a 19 and a 14, so no successes.
Okay. Do you want to buy any more dice with momentum? You could buy 1.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that.
That's the last point of momentum in the pool.
Hey, and it's a 1.
Hey, okay. So the 2 of you get injected by this inoculation. You hear the fizz. And as you do so, you feel something sort of permeate your skin on the arm, and then it sort of leads into your chest and then down into your abdomen, and it doesn't make you feel super great, but you think you're safe.
Feel a little woozy. I center myself.
We will have to go through proper radiation protocols when we return. I have a question.
Yes.
The radioactive material that's out there seems to be, if I'm inferring this wrong, let me know, but it appears to be affecting the computer itself too, or the station itself.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it as an infectious disease, so I have a focus in that. Would removing that make the computer maybe reset and realize that it's an error?
You believe that it is possible, hypothetically, that the inside of this station, which is so coated with this weird biomaterial, it may have fouled or shut off many of the sensors inside the tube itself. And so if Lieutenant Woods is careful about removing it, the computer may get a better sense. Because remember, it's just a computer sitting inside a device. Well, it can only sense properly what it gets for inputs, and it can't tell what it doesn't. It doesn't get good inputs for.
My follow-up question is, based on what I've seen of what it is about to do to the planet, what's the repercussions? If there's nobody to put down there, what's going to happen? Is it just going to do anything bad to the planet?
The potential repercussions could be, depending upon the amount of energy this thing can release, it could be catastrophic. If that gas is in any way flammable or ignitable, it's a gaseous planet being lit on fire. That's bad.
Okay, so I want to help Lieutenant Woods as best as I can from where I am. Knowing what I've seen out there, is there any key points that I can get her to focus fire on that may cascade or anything like that, instead of having to just do a clean knife cut across?
You could attempt to relay her targeting data. You may want to ask Ensign Suvik for that sort of assistance.
Ensign Suvik.
Doctor.
I have a question. I'm working on a theory that the radioactive material is affecting the computer's sensors. I feel that if it does do what it needs to do, there will be a catastrophic repercussions felt in the entire quadrant if this happens, including our visit to Stovacor very early in our lifetimes. So I would like to assist Lieutenant Woods as best as we can to target the more affected areas that would perhaps open up the sensors more in a quicker time frame. Would you be able to assist me with that?
Your reason is sound with my limited science knowledge, and I can assist with that, yes.
So the way this will work is the two of you will essentially make assisting roles with the lieutenant. So normally only one character would be allowed to assist, but given the circumstances, we're sort of at the climactic portion of our story, I'll allow it. Both of you will make effectively assist roles. So that'll be assisted off of your control and security, because that's what's used to fire weapons.
On an assist, can you use a focus?
Sure, why not?
Okay. I was going to use infectious diseases as my focus.
Oh, okay, sure. I get that.
I rolled a 3 on that, so I believe that would kick in.
Okay, so then Suvik?
I have 1 success.
Okay, so we'll say that there are 3 total successes waiting for you. And so for you, Lieutenant Woods, to do the phaser scraping, you're going to need to make a similar roll, but I need 2 successes from you. We need to get to a total of 5.
Would you say that in this task I am currently being threatened, perhaps by the radiation?
I would say you're absolutely being threatened by radiation.
Beautiful. Then I would love to add my Dauntless talent to this. For Dauntless, whenever you attempt a task to resist being intimidated or threatened, you may add a bonus d20 to your dice pool.
Sounds cool.
That's 2 successes. Did we have any more momentum left in our pool?
So you haven't pooled any momentum recently. You've been using it for those successes or using it for more information. So right now that the pool is empty.
Okay, so for me then, I would like, because we need one more success in order to make this happen.
You have 2 successes.
I have 2.
So they gave you 3 via their assist. So you should have the 5 you need.
So we have the 5. Okay, never mind. All right, cool. So that gives us, those 2 successes give us 5 total.
Okay. So you take the runabout in a strange sort of strafing formation. And really what you're doing is you're adjusting the phasers to do something a little wider and a little lower power than they would normally shoot at. And this effectively creates a heat wave, which begins to get in and crack and break up that biological material. And once you get the first few cracks in it, you watch it sort of fall away and break away from the inside of the tube. And it looks like it's a fairly successful operation.
All right. I think I have almost all of it. How are things in there? Are the radiation readings any lower?
Doctor?
That is 1 success.
Yeah, should be all you need for this. You definitely begin to see the radiation levels, those specific ones, dropping. And the great part about that for you is that you start seeing the system here, the station itself, gain more data points, basically, of reference. And you start watching things update. And the station stops moving. And you hear overhead, "Doctor,
Computer.
I believe I've failed.
How so?
I was not able to properly craft a place for the Sona here within the station to live during the time of their life. I do not show any of the current complement are still alive."
This is true. However, you were infected, for lack of a better term, by an outside force or an outside entity, so to speak. And it affected your vision and your goals. It is hard to fight an enemy that you do not know and do not see.
Nevertheless, the station's purpose no longer exists.
Perhaps your existence has expanded then to something different.
All right, Kavan. I think that it's a wonderful opportunity for you to play bedside doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a presence medicine roll.
Can I focus psychiatry on that as well?
Sure, absolutely.
I have a 5 and a 12, so that is 2 successes.
You have a long talk with the computer. You reason with it for some time. You sort of convince it that just because the Sona inside of it that it's been carrying were never able to find peace, that its existence here in this system, the station, could be one used as a museum, perhaps, for a legacy. And that has value intrinsically. Essentially, you talk the AI into continuing rather than shutting down. And you're able to, with the assistance of the rest of your crew, get the others inoculated within your crew. And then you're able to get back to the ship together. The doors open, the walking paths reverse or go in that direction. And eventually the 4 of you are back together again on the Beethoven.
Again, we will have to go through radiation protocols once we arrive back at the station, but I think we are out of danger.
Well done, Kavan. I don't know if I would have had the wherewithal to have such a nice chat with the AI.
Stovacor will have to wait for the AI a little bit longer, I believe.
Well, as the crew takes back off for the next adventure, we'll wish them safe travels back to DS9. And I want to thank my players and our backer Skip, who helped craft this story to a unique ending. So thank you very much. And from my side, good night and good luck.